Hi, and welcome to Green Chili Chisme. Before we dive in, I want to set the stage. This episode is more than an interview. It's a journey. It's a journey through music, memory, and the legacy of one of the most soulful voices in rock and roll history, Doug Sahm. Shandon Sahm joins us from overseas, and what unfolds is raw, reverent, and real. We talk about circles, music travels, how fans find the meat puppets, then Doug, then the tornadoes, and so on. We talk backstage passes, Kiss without makeup, and the Netherlands Immigration Office recognizing the Sahm name. We talk about being the only Sahm kid born in California and not touching music until high school. We talk about love for his dad's music, love for the people who keep that name alive. And somewhere in the middle of it all, we go deep. No, deeper. This is Green Chili Chisme. This is Legacy and Bloom. Let's go.
Cali chick from all the canals, a whiskey swiller, gonna smoke you out. I ain't never, ever seen such a girl like that.
Shandon Sahm, thank you for joining Green Chili Chisme. Where are we finding you at right now?
I am in Amsterdam, Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. How long have you been down there?
Almost about 8 years now.
Wow.
Um, well, of course, I'm a musician and I've toured all over the world, and I've been here many times, and I've always thought, what would it be like, to live here? Because you don't need a car. The public transportation is awesome.
Right.
It's a off point to go to everywhere else. 3 hours and you can be in Paris.
Exactly.
So everything's really close by, and I just really like the atmosphere and the vibes, and coffee shops are cool and stuff and all that. So, but what really helped me was I don't know, it feels like the stars were kind of aligned up because I had when I was selling my house in South Austin, the only thing that was keeping me in Austin really was my mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
So when my house, I didn't have anything, and so, I mean, you'll find this to be a total trick. But I wrote two immigration people, because you're thinking about coming to the Netherlands, so you're like, well, you gotta go through immigration or hire a lawyer, immigration lawyer.
Right.
And I wrote to two people on basically, it was like, hi, my name is Shandon, and I'd like to know what my options are living in the Netherlands, how I can go about doing that or immigrating to the Netherlands. One guy wrote back, right? You ready for this? This is the killer thing. He's a big reason why I'm here, because he made it so easy. But an immigration guy named Marcel, he wrote back, hey, is Doug Sahm your dad? And are you living in the Meat Puppets? Like he knew, he
Wow.
knew who Dad was.
Well, he was so big over there. Before we
And
getting into him though, I don't want to go too far into that yet.
yeah,
So now we've identified who our guest is. This is actually the son of Doug Sahm, and our pod is really about legacy, man, and roots, and we've gotten some great responses from our artists that we've had on already. So this is going to be really special
awesome.
for me because you know how much I admire your pop, man, and so
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and start from the beginning and like what we normally do, but I know it's different for this situation. But tell me about your parents, and where you grew up, and if you remember your grandparents. Let's start with that.
Um, sure. Well, Viva Lee was my dad's mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I do remember her. She died in like 75, 76, but I do remember her a little bit. I remember my mom's mom better because I used to go stay with her
Oh,
in on the weekends. But you know, basically, I'm the only person in the family that was born in California because I'm sure you know that Dad and the Sir Douglas Quintet in 1966 they
Yep.
got busted at the Corpus Christi airport,
Yep.
and it was through that we ended up somehow they let Dad finish out his probation in California because it was really hostile at that time to long hairs and and hippies and stuff and 66 in Texas.
Yeah.
So we hightailed to to Salinas, California, and then in 69 I was born, and we stayed there till about 70, 71, and
Hmm.
then we went back to Texas basically. So I was born, I'm the only one in the family that was born in California. Had Dad not been busted at the Corpus Christi airport, I still would
There you
have
go.
been born
In
in San
Texas.
Antonio or Texas, but I'm the only one that was born outside of Texas in the family.
That's crazy. You know,
And
in my little
my mom,
investigation there, I found out that your dad told his lawyers, "Hey, man, you either figure it out. You got to figure it out because I'm leaving." That's basically what they did. Figure it out because I'm
well,
leaving.
yeah, that I don't know much about, but I know that he didn't want to stay in this environment anymore.
Oh
It was
yeah.
very hostile to musicians, hippies, anybody that was different. If he had long hair, I mean, it was rough for minorities, but it was even rougher if you're a white guy that had long hair.
And hung out with
And so,
minorities.
yeah, so he had to go, and he had to. He was on probation for a little while in California, so he really had to mind himself and be on until he got off probation. They let him finish out his probation in California, which is really strange. That happened, but it happened, and then he moved the whole family to California in
That's
'66, and then that's when he met Grateful Dead and did all that great stuff that you hear from '66 to '69, '70, all that great music and all the things that they did was all California based.
yeah, yeah. That's Hollywood time.
Yeah, I mean that's when he met the Dead and just got a reputation in California with the Ashbury scene. He went, we were right in the middle of the whole Summer of Love and all that.
Yeah.
He was right in the middle of it all.
That's so crazy. So, what was school like for you then? How was school once you got back to Texas? When your dad being who he was, how was school for
Yeah.
you?
Well, the thing with that was I didn't go to school, 2 years old or whatever, maybe a little less when we left and went back to San
Right.
Antonio. So I went to kindergarten in San Antonio, kindergarten and elementary school and middle school and high school. Basically, I graduated at Tom C. Clark High School.
Clark?
And, yep, Clark. And so I never went to school. I was too young to go to school yet, and when I was in California. So
Right.
once we moved to San Antonio, that's when I went to kindergarten. I think I went to was it Jack and Jill kindergarten? I think it's in San Antonio. I don't know. It's not there anymore. I don't think. And if it is, that would be a trip. But
Right.
it was Jack and Jill pre kindergarten, and then I went to Boone Elementary right there in what was it, Tanglewood and Spring Branch,
Oh yeah.
well, right there, Boone Elementary, and then went to Hobby Middle.
So at Clark, by okay,
But
let's back up a little bit here. When did
yeah,
again, knowing who your pop is, when did music for you start becoming something that you were interested in?
well, that was a little bit around the high school days,
That's
but
what I thought.
go back a little bit. Everybody, even my teachers and everything, Dad had a reputation of being this musician from San Antonio. He was already, by 65, he had a hit, She's About a Mover. By
Right.
69, he had Mendocino.
Right.
So my teachers and a lot of people at school knew. There was like, oh, that's Shandon Sahm. He's Doug Sam's son. So a lot of the in middle school and elementary and middle school and high school, they all knew, a lot of people there knew who Dad was,
Yeah.
just because he was kind of famous, for being from San Antonio. One of the few guys back in the day to hit nationally, right?
Yeah.
Not just locally, but nationally.
He broke the Beatles' hold.
But yeah, but as far as me finding my music, it actually, I would say it chose me. It chose me because I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in ninth and 10th grade. I was like, well, am I going to follow the same path that Dad did and do music, or do I want to be a doctor, or
Yeah.
I didn't really know. It wasn't until my first band that I ever started was Pariah,
Right.
right?
I remember that
And
band.
I started that in, like, I think about 87, 86, 87. I was in 11th grade, or 10th or 11th grade, and that was my first band ever. And so music kind of chose me. I didn't have a path. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But as soon as I got into Pariah and I just started playing, it was a high school band from Clark,
Right.
Sims, Ellison, Kyle. They both went to Clark, and they asked me to play. Sims was a little bit older, so he was in 12th grade, and me and Kyle were in the same grade. We were in ninth grade, and we had the same art teacher and art classes and stuff. But they asked me to play, and then basically 2 years after high school is when we got signed to Geffen Records. So my first band right out of the bat, actually did something. Everybody's first bands are usually just whatever, right?
Exactly.
You do something and then go on to something else. Well, my first band right out of the gate was Pariah, and then just 2 years in 1990, years out of high school, we got signed. So everything happened pretty quick. We were a high school band, started at Tom C. Clark High School, and then the singer Dave was also from high school up in Clark. And we got Jared, who wasn't from Clark, but we basically started, we played the talent show and everything, at Clark.
Yeah.
So we started, we wrap all that up. I didn't really know what to do until the Ellison brothers asked me to play music. And then I just stuck with being in Pariah, and that was my only band. We weren't in a million bands like people do now, where they're like in 5 bands and maybe one of them makes it.
Right.
We all concentrated on one band, Pariah. So, wow, this band I started from high school, it's okay to get records.
That's crazy.
So, and that same band went on, to get signed, and the same guy that signed us signed Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and all that. So, I mean, we right out of the bat, we did great. One of the only San Antonio bands to get signed out of San Antonio. Of course, we moved to Austin by the time we got signed because we had more gigs in Austin. We had the management was in Austin, so we went from in 1990 we moved from San Antonio to Austin.
So you were already playing drums
right
at this time?
Yeah, well, the thing was weird was I didn't have a drum set, and the Ellison brothers got me a drum set. And they borrowed it. I knew how to play drums, but never had a drum set. It's really weird.
Wow, yeah. I get
Dad
it though.
even said when he heard me play for the first time, he's like, "I think you're going to be a drummer."
That's cool.
And so that's kind of how he chose me. Like I said, I didn't know that I was going to do this. It kind of chose me. And then when we got signed, I ended up going, well, maybe I should stick with this.
Yeah.
Cool. Had I stuck with it, I found Meat Puppets and Gibby Haynes and playing on his solo record and doing all that cool stuff that I got to do later in life, because Pariah lasted from like 87 to 95.
Right.
And it was my taste of, being signed, being treated like a rock star, I guess you'd call it, getting signed and going to LA for 3 months and making it. I was 23 when we made our debut record.
Wow.
And we did it in Conway Studios, and it was the same place that like Motley Crue did Girls, Girls, Girls. And,
wow.
And producer Tom Warman was the guy that did Cheap Trick and Motley Crue. And I was 23 and we did our debut record in LA, it's spending $3,000 a day for 3 months in a big
Wow.
studio. Because back in the day, people don't understand, but in order to be seen and to be if we want to get like not just get famous, but in order to be seen and heard, you had to get signed. There was no internet, right?
Right.
So if you wanted to like people to hear you all the way in Detroit or New York, well, you had to get signed because they were the only ones. Those big record companies had the machine to be able to put your record out, and then they are played all over radio stations all over America.
Right. So
They
going
had
back a
they had
little
the
bit,
machine.
here, and you did end up being a drummer. Besides, of
Yeah.
course, your family. Who were your early musical influences? What kind of music were you listening to in, say, middle school on up until you joined your band?
Well, it's funny because didn't. I mean, Dad was always this influence in a way because I grew up in clubs, right? So I would go to sleep while Dad would be playing his three sets, doing the blues and all that. He'd wake me up at 3 in the morning. Okay, son, let's go. Me, Sean, and Don. We grew up in clubs. So clubs like the Soap Creek Armadillo World Headquarters.
Right.
All those clubs, those were I say daycare, but those were our night cares. We hung out at clubs when we were little kids.
That's
And
crazy.
but one of the first bands right off the bat was '70s Kiss, and it's weird how Kiss and Dad actually have a connection because in 1975 you can go on YouTube and go to a song called "Roll with the Punches,"
Uh-huh.
and that was produced by Neil Bogart, who had Casablanca Records. So Dad did a single with Neil Bogart, Casablanca Records, and Neil Bogart's the guy that signed Kiss. So it's really weird how Dad and Kiss had this connection
Wow.
through Neil Bogart.
Yeah, that is
And it
insane.
was through that. In 1975, it was actually, if you go on YouTube, you can see it. Dad had a single called Roll with the Punches and Casablanca Records. Now, it was only a single. They didn't do a record. It was a single put out on Casablanca Records by 1979. This was 75.
Right.
By 1979, Kiss on the Dynasty tour came to San Antonio, and I got to meet them because of Dad, with makeup and without makeup. And that was a big deal back then to meet them without makeup and
Heck
stuff. So
yeah.
I was like 9, 10 years old, and I got to meet Kiss without makeup. And it's 1979. But yeah, so Neil Bogart did a single with that called Roll with the Punches. That's where the Kiss Doug Sahm connection came through.
And Kiss was aware of who your dad was?
Yes, oh for sure. Yeah, when we went backstage, they were like, "Hey, Doug, how's it going?" Gene and Paul knew. Gene and Paul knew who Dad was. Yeah, and they talked for a while. And Gene even showed Dad the Axe bass.
Oh,
I remember he
wow.
goes, "Here, Doug, put this on." And he put the Axe bass on, and he goes, "Look, you can raise your arms, and the bass won't fall."
It just
Like
sits
it
there.
was, the bass was what do you call it? Perfectly balanced to where when you put your arms up, the bass doesn't slide down. You know?
Wow.
It had a perfect balance, and so yeah, he showed Dad the Axe bass, and we got to walk. Basically what had happened was my mom was a secretary, and she had a great secretary voice, and she somehow found where they were staying in San Antonio and said Doug Sahm and his sons would love to go to the Kiss concert. Is that possible? And she got a hold of Gene's bodyguard, and he said, sure, come on. And so we met them. Uh, that's a whole other story in itself. But yeah, we got to go backstage on the Dynasty tour, and Dad, talked with Gene and Paul. Yes, and it was through Neil Bogart that Gene and Paul knew who Dad was. And
Wow.
then later in life, by like '86, Lick It Up and all that stuff, Paul Stanley would go see Dad when he played in upstate New York and or in Canada. There's pictures of them together. He would go to his show, his club
Wow.
show, and see him play.
Well,
So
that's cool.
after we met in '79, they definitely knew who he was. And Paul would go see Dad play periodically in the '80s.
Wow, that's really cool.
Picture for you. Uh, I'll send you a picture when we're done with the interview. I'll send you the picture of Dad and Paul Stanley
Oh,
in
great.
'86.
Thanks. Yeah. So let's get there. I know we can go deep into the woods with your dad, man, and but I'm gonna kind of come back
Okay.
to you a little bit. Um,
Sure.
Do you write music, or have you written when you started with your band, and then the Meat Puppets later? Do you are you a writer of music?
Of course, yeah. It took a little while because, I was, doing the drumming thing for the most part. But then towards the end of Pariah, I wrote a couple of tunes, and I started getting my feet wet. And then it wasn't really though until I got into the Meat Puppets when I would show Kurt, for the singer songwriter of Meat Puppets, and the couple of guys in the band, I would show them some ideas, and they're like, "Hey, man, you can play guitar. Hey, you ever thought about writing songs?" They kind of gave me the encouragement,
Yeah.
and so that's basically after I got in the Meat Puppets. That's when I started doing that and writing a little bit more. And but yeah, I've got two solo records out. One's called "Good Thoughts Are Better Than Laxatives." Then I got another one called uh, "Knock Yourself Out." And the first one, the "Good Thoughts Are Better Than Laxatives," was a little bit more avant-garde, just kind of chorusy songs over and over again. Because I don't know how to write bridges yet. I'm still not that good at bridges, but I can come up with chorus and verses all day long. I can do
Right.
that stuff in my sleep. But so the first record was really just to see, and I played most of the instruments. I did have some people play with me, but was just to see that if I could do it, if I could play with myself, start the
Sure.
drums and then lay down the drums and then grab the bass, play the bass, grab some guitar. And I could play rhythm guitar, so I just did the basics: bass, drums, rhythm guitar,
Yeah.
and then I would add my friends in to play solos and to play keyboards and extra stuff.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
I did the basics. Basics.
I'm a rhythm. I had to start playing guitar when Michael Guerra and I used to write, and I could write songs all day like you. I could write songs all day, but he couldn't really write songs, but he could compose. So he would just be on the guitar, and
Uh-huh.
I'd say, "Hey man, is that something, or is that somebody's, or is that you just fucking around?" And he's like, "No, I'm just messing around." So I said, "Keep playing that same riff," and
Now,
I'd pull through my freaking lyrics, dude, and I'm like, this one, and then I'd pull up a song and pull it out, print it. We have hundreds of songs through BMI, registered with BMI, hundreds of songs.
and who,
And
and who is that?
Michael Guerra,
Who?
Michael
Oh,
Guerra,
okay, of
accordion
course. Yeah,
player.
no, he's Michael Guerra, right? You
Yeah,
said?
yeah, he played
Yeah,
with the
he's a cool guy.
Tornadoes.
He's a very talented guy. Michael Guerra is a really talented dude. He can play a lot of instruments really
Oh,
well.
he's my business partner. He was my business. He started our company together. And
Wow. Well,
did
he's a talented guy, definitely, for sure. I know that.
Oh my God, dude,
He
he
can
could
play
play
drums.
everything: guitar,
He's a
piano,
great
bass.
accordion player.
Yep. Anyway, so yeah, I used to do that, man. I keep playing whatever you're playing. I'd roll through my Rolodex of songs and pull one out and say, we match it to
Yeah.
this, and we just go, dude. We had that magic for like 5 years, dude. We put out songs.
Awesome.
There's so many songs we have registered that the band knew like 10, and we had like
Uh-huh.
140. Anyways, we're getting
Wow.
off track here. So back to your creating. When you're writing a song, and this is a trouble for me too. When do you know it's done, or when you're recording actually?
Well, that's another thing. I mean, you could add stuff forever. You can put stuff, and just keep adding. A lot of it is time. You only got a certain amount of time, and but some stuff probably could have been more done than others.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say when a song is done. But basically, I think once all the instruments are on there and you've put everything that you'd like to do, backing vocals, if you want saxophone, if you want acoustic guitar, if you want electric guitar, you just add all the instruments because everything's in your head, right? Everything's in your head. And that's the whole trick about recording is what you hear in your head to come out on tape like you hear it in your head.
Exactly.
And most of the time it comes out like that, but sometimes it doesn't. But I'm definitely one of those guys. When I record, I'm into happy accidents. I
Oh,
like that. I like happy accidents. Things that come on the recording that you didn't plan on to, but
yeah,
came out really well. Like, oh, I didn't expect to put that instrument on here, but it
yeah.
sounds great. Or
It sounds
I didn't
fantastic.
expect to play that guitar part like I was thinking it, but I did something different and it came out great. I like happy accidents.
Yeah, yeah. That's fantastic, man. So,
So is a song ever really finished? Yes and no. I would say the songs are finished because they're done and they're mastered.
well,
you
yeah.
know, but if you had the time, you could put a million instruments on there and a million vocals, and it just depends on the amount of time you have, really, and tracks.
And that's exactly it. And if you have the money to sit there, you can just do it forever. Um,
Yeah,
let me ask you
and now
this.
you got home recording.
Oh yeah, you can do it at home easily now. Let me ask you this, and
Yeah.
and again, the audience hopefully has to understand who your dad was again. So, and this question has a lot to do with that. When was the moment that you realized that your story mattered? Like when you felt seen or heard aside of your pop?
Well, I would say right away with Pariah because me and Sean, we were trying to you to be seen, you had to get signed to a label, and so he had a great band called Presence,
Yeah, I
and at
remember
the
that band
time
too.
we were all trying to get signed, but Pariah ended up getting signed. So as far as like I've always okay because Sean's done a lot of things with my dad. He's went on
Right.
tour with dad and everything. Me, I did everything pretty much on my own. So being seen and heard was all on my own. All these things that I did wasn't because I was Doug Som's son. It
Right.
was because of my talent as a drummer,
Right.
and that's what's carried me far. I started off with Pariah just having success and getting signed, and then when that stopped, that was kind of a turning point because when Pariah broke up in '95, when grunge was kind of big, we got dropped from Geffen in '95. And that was a turning point to where, okay, Shandon, well, you got to, record your debut record on a major label. You were 23 years old. You got to get a taste of some stardom or whatever. But are you a rock star or are you a musician? And I said to myself, well, I'm a musician. And then I said, okay, well, then keep doing what you're doing. And had I quit, if I would have quit after Pariah, I wouldn't have played on Gibby Haynes' solo record. I
Right.
wouldn't have played on Meat Puppets, 3 LPs to the Meat Puppets.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have done all that stuff. I quit right after Pariah broke up. So I kept soldiering on. So everything I've done has been through my own talent. It wasn't
Yep.
because I was Doug's son,
Right.
Doug's
Right.
son.
And that's what
Some
that's what I
song.
was trying to get to because all the people I've spoken to, it's them, dude. It's their internal drive that drives them. That makes them who they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Parents aside, you
Well,
have
and I was
that
just lucky.
talent.
Yeah, well, and I was just lucky. It's like I got my first band. It got signed. Now we didn't do well on a commercial level, Pariah, but
Right.
we accomplished a lot because just getting signed out of San Antonio, that's a hard thing to do.
Yep. That's
So
the
right
one.
out of the bat, my first band, Pariah, gets signed. Boom. Okay, well then Pariah breaks up, and then I'm like, well, am I just here to, you know, play a rock star thing, or am I a real musician? And I said,
Right.
well, I'm a musician. So I kept doing it, and then a few years later, I got in touch with actually the guitar player, Emerson. He got me into the Meat Puppets, and so I got into the Meat Puppets that way. And then we did that, and then for a little while, and after that, I got to play on Gibby Haynes' solo record. It was a band called Gibby Haynes and His Problem, and it's on Seven Dog Records, uh, distributed through Warner Brothers. So I mean, a lot of things I got to do. I've been on a lot of major labels. I've been on Scorpion. I've been on Atlantic. Uh, and I even got to do, a couple songs with Dad on Electra on that Daydreaming at Midnight.
Right.
And so I got to do a lot, and it was just all on my own. Just to wrap up what you're saying, it was all just not quitting and keep going and keep pushing and keep doing it. As
Yep.
Pariah came out, boom, I got signed. I kept doing it, and then the Meat Puppets opportunity came along, and that kind of broke up, and then I drifted for a few years, and then Gibby Haynes project came up, and then I did that for a while, and then after that, a couple of years I drifted, then I got back into the Meat Puppets second time.
Right.
So I did the first Meat Puppets part was like 98 to 2001. And then I rejoined from 2009 to 2018. And actually, when I moved here to Amsterdam in 2018, that's when I quit doing that. And then I moved to Amsterdam because I left America.
Right.
What you said was I just never stopped. I got in Pariah, boom, that did something, and it gave me a taste of the music industry, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And then, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing it, and then boom, I got into, Meat Puppets, and then through the Meat Puppets, I got to open up for Soundgarden and Foo Fighters and tour the world with the Meat Puppets.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you've been playing music in Amsterdam ever since, right? That's all you do is music.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do that. But maybe though, I've been doing a tribute to my dad because I've always had these songs. Well, I mean, Dad's always had these songs, and people. I've always wanted to do my own tribute to Dad, and I never got to get out. I did some tributes and stuff to Dad on like "Keep Your Soul" and stuff like that, but I never got to
Right.
do my own tribute in my own way. So that's when I released Sahm Covers Sahm,
Right.
an EP, and then I released another one in Holland called Sahm Covers Sahm Volume 2. And that actually has two tracks of the Meat Puppets. When I was in the Meat Puppets, to tell you the story, that's how I got back in a second time. So I started doing Psalm cover song, and I asked Kurt, who was the guitar player, songwriter for the Meat Puppets, if he would like to play on my Psalm cover song um, EP that I was making. And it was through that I ended up getting in touch with him again. And then he was, it sounds really good, your drumming stuff. Would you like to come back?
Huh.
And through that, as soon as I joined Meat Puppets, I went on tour with Stone Temple Pilots for like 10 days.
Whoa.
And that was my first shows back in the Meat Puppets. That was the first tour I did once we got in the Meat Puppets.
Nice. Nice.
So, I did that. I did Meat Puppets total for about 11 years. And the Gibby thing was probably about 2.5 years. And, so yeah, it was great. I got to the first Meat Puppets thing from 1998 to 2001. That was on Atlantic Records.
Right.
And then they have their own. Then they were on a record label. They still are on Megaforce, which is a kind of a major indie like Megaforce Records. And so I've done three. Meat Puppets. They have like 16 records out. The guys are 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
And so they started in 81, but I'm on a record called Golden Lies. So if you want to check out me on playing with the Meat Puppets, go get the record Golden Lies. That's 2000. And then in 2010 is Lollipop. And then 2013 is Rat Farm. So Golden Lies, Lollipop, and Rat Farm are in the Meat Puppets catalog.
Oh, nice.
And there's also a live record too. It's called Live at Maxwell's. And
Right.
so I'm in their catalog. I've done 3 records out of their 16. I'm on 3 of them.
That's pretty good. That's a good little chunk. So yeah, you know that, I don't know if you remember the song I sent you, Such a Girl Like That. Do you remember that? It was a tribute song I wrote it, Michael composed it, for Doug, for your dad.
Okay.
He's that much of an influence on me, and actually it's the song that we use for our show opener. So
Oh, so
let me tell you something, man. Your dad has been such an influence on me that I decided when I opened my company back in 2008, when Michael and I started, that he was going to be in everything that I did, some way or another. So I've done 8 films,
cool.
and he's been in every one of my films, either in music or in mention, or there's some way, or his caddy. Michael bought his Cadillac, so his caddy is used in one of the films. So there's 8 films that he's been in, and we'll make it into my 9th one, which is coming up hopefully in October, November. We'll be filming that one.
So Michael has a Cadillac, me?
Michael has your dad's last car. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that because I thought Sean was lending it to like George Raines or something.
No, Michael bought it.
Wow, is it still running?
Yeah, it was last time I saw it. And it's some crazy
And
shit happened, dude. We'd be going to gigs, bro, and you know this is the 2000s. Your dad's not supposed to be on the radio, and we'd be going to gigs in that car, and he'd fucking come on the radio, dude. And me and Michael would freak
wow,
out. We'd freak out, dude. We were probably high as hell, but we'd freak out. Like it didn't happen once or twice. It happened a lot of times. Um,
yeah,
there's an album your dad did that he's wearing this wooden cross. Do you know what I'm talking about? A big wooden
yeah. Is that
cross.
the live in Sweden?
I'm not
Or live in
sure,
Sweden or live?
but check this out, dude. After about we had that
Is it
car for
live?
like, 3 or 4 years. We found that cross under the seat, dude.
Oh my God.
Under the seat after we had that car for like 3 years. Because we lived in the same house. I had a house that Mike lived in, so we cruised that car all the
Okay.
time. And yeah, and and it hangs from the rear view now. You know, that's some
Wow.
crazy
Wow.
stuff, dude.
Yeah. Dad used to hang that from the rear view. I think. Yeah.
It was under the seat. Crazy,
Wow.
crazy, crazy.
That is incredible. That's
And
trippy. So does he still have that cross?
yeah, oh, I'm sure. Oh, I'm most definitely
Okay.
sure. Um,
Awesome.
So yeah, just letting you know that he's such an influence. In fact, as we speak, in the wall that's I'm facing, there's a picture of him. His second Rolling Stone cover hangs right there. He's actually looking at me, talking to you right now. That's crazy. I wish you could see this.
Yeah. So that was 71, and then 68 was because I wasn't born yet. Was when Sean was on the cover with him,
Yeah.
and then that was 68, and then 71, and so that was a cool thing because I mean, unlike now, Rolling Stone when they put people on the cover, it's only because they've sold millions of records.
Right.
Back in the early days when they first started, they actually just put talented people on. It didn't matter if they sold millions of records. If they were really talented and they had a little scene going on, they would put you on the cover. That's how Dad got on there because he was just so talented.
And he was in the scene. Now, he's the only cat to be in the first the first 86 issues twice. That's something.
Yeah, yes, like that exactly. Yep.
That is saying something.
Now it's all just million selling artists. They only
Yeah.
put artists that sell lots of records. Where back in the day, you definitely, as long as you were talented and you had something to say, you could be on the cover. You know, now they put million selling artists, but back in the day, it wasn't that really that way. I mean, they did have million selling artists, Paul McCartney and stuff on the
Right.
cover and David Bowie, but you just as long as you were talented and you had something to say and it impacted a lot of people, they put you on the cover, and that's exactly, Dad was at the right places at the right time with the
Yeah.
right talent. That was back in the day when talent actually spoke. You didn't have, you know, you didn't have all this internet stuff to kind of push. You just had to go by word of mouth. And, oh, that guy is great. He's a great musician. Blah, blah, blah. And that's what got him everywhere.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
Dad played on Grateful Dead's "In the Wake of the Flood" record.
Oh, dude.
If he pushed it hard, he could have been in the Grateful Dead if he really wanted to. It probably would let him join Grateful Dead. He also could have been a little bit of an actor too, because he's in two
Yeah.
major motion picture films.
Yep. Yep.
He's in Cisco Pike with Chris Christopherson,
Right.
1971, and he's in More American Graffiti
That was
with
funny, dude.
what's the guy? I think it was the guy from Star Wars, George Lucas. In '79, he did More American Graffiti 2,
Two.
the second one. So if he really would push that, he could have been in more movies too. He was just a talented guy that was in the right places at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so yeah, just we go back to your dad, dude. I'm sorry. Um,
Well, it's so vast. The thing
oh
about
my
Doug
God.
and Dad is that his music, it's just a vast, big catalog of music, and he's done so much in that time And so much, Bob Dylan and Ringo Starr covered "She's About a Mover."
Yeah.
I mean, he really impacted a lot of people's lives. So
I
admiration for him.
no. Charlie Pride covered. What's that? What's that? Oh, San Antone. Anybody going to San Antone? Charlie Pride covered that
Yeah,
one.
and also a lot of people like the Lemonheads guys, Evan Dando. He covered Dad. The guy in the Pixies. I'm actually really good friends with the singer Frank Black of the Pixies. He loves Dad, and he got me into a couple of Pixie shows, and he kept telling me, "Man, I really love, your dad." And one of his favorite songs is "Sunday Sunny Mill Valley Groove
Oh my
Day."
God, I love that song. Uh,
Yeah, that's one of Frank Black, the singer for the Pixies. That's one of his favorite tunes, and he covered it on his solo record.
wow, wow, wow.
So go on YouTube sometime and go Frank Black Pixies
I'm writing
Sunday
all this
Sunny
down.
Mill Valley Groove Day. You'll hear it.
Right on, man.
I mean, he's been covered by numerous artists. I always said that Dad is one hit single away, whether it's a new artist or an older artist doing one of his songs and making it big.
There you go.
Like if Willie Nelson came out and did one of his songs, it got big. Or some new artist, even like say Youngblood. I know he's like different, but if Youngblood did a song of Dad's and then made it big, like
Yeah,
he's just one step away from people really knowing his songs, because the people that know, they know.
yeah,
But he has so many songs that people, some new artist coming up that's like does like, "I want to do Get Back the Key to My Heart" or something, and then gets a hit with it.
yeah.
He's not that far away from that happening again, because he's got so many songs and he's got such eclectic style of music, Americana, blues, rock and roll, that he could have a hit with one of these artists doing one of his songs, whether it's a new artist or an old artist. Anytime something could come up tomorrow, you would go, "Oh, hey, there's this new guy, blah 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 blah, and he's really big now, and he covered one of Dad's songs and made it a hit." I mean,
Yeah.
that can happen at any time, because he's got so many songs, and artists are always looking for songs.
When I try to explain to people who he is, the one I go to is when he was with Atlantic and he did Doug Sahm band, and the band was freaking Bob Dylan and Dr. John and David Fathead Newman, and it was just Doug Sahm band. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
should tell people who this cat was.
Well, Dylan came out of retirement to play on Dad's record. Think about that. 'Cause
That's just
in
insane.
69, 70, he got that motor scooter crash.
Right.
And he was held up for a while. He didn't really make a lot of appearances. And then by 71, he was playing on Dad's records.
That's crazy. When I
So
did
he kind of came out of retirement.
in the
He
research.
kind of came out of retirement on Dad's records.
Right. In the research that I was doing for the script, about the movie, the screenplay,
Yeah.
when Doug walked into the studio first time and all those cats were in there, Elton John was there, and they were all circled
Yeah.
around Elton John, who was telling a story. And when your dad came in, they all turned around to your dad and was like, "Hey!" and left Elton John like. So that's just some
Yeah,
crazy.
and I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that him being there. And Bette Midler, by the way, Bette Midler was in those sessions
Yeah.
too. I'm surprised that Elton, maybe because he was just so famous at the time, I don't know. Well, and so was Bob. But I
Yeah.
don't know why Elton didn't play on a song or
I don't
play
know.
guitar or piano or sang. Or,
He probably just
really
went
surprised
to
that
Jerry and said, "Hey
Elton
man, let
didn't
me hang out in the
contribute to a
room."
song.
He probably just went to Jerry and said, "Hey man, let me just hang out in the room."
Yeah, probably just soak up all that stuff that was in the air. It was almost like back in the day. It was almost in the air. It was in the water.
Oh my gosh, that band was just amazing. I don't know if you know, I found there's the public libraries have a music thing that you can get on for free, whatever. When I was working at the library, but they released this album of your dad, and God darn it, we keep talking about your dad. They released this album about your dad from that time, a radio show, and I want to say in Philadelphia.
I think that was fun.
and Bob was on there, and my gosh, he was I think he was playing fiddle, and it was interesting. I don't know if he was drinking or what, but it was his fiddle playing was a little bit off in that album. It was crazy.
I wonder if was it that I wonder about that because I don't know if it was like live in Philadelphia.
It was like a radio show, and there was like a little audience there. And
Yeah,
so
that was the Bayou Cafe, I think.
oh, that's I think you're correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it was interesting that that fiddle playing. Every time I hear it, I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on here?
but I don't
So,
know if that was Doug. I mean, I don't know if that was Robert.
anyways, what's a moment in your career that you wish more people knew about? Something tucked away, that in your biography that you think deserves more spotlight.
In my biography or
Yeah,
Dan's?
yours, your career.
Oh, well, it's all out there. So I don't know, maybe the three records that I did, with the Meat Puppets, or, we didn't really talk a lot about playing on Gibby's solo record. He got signed and was looking for a band, and I ended up joining his band, and I played drums on that record, and that's a really awesome record. I mean, it's like almost sounds like Pariah meets Butthole Surfers.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a so what I like to spotlight. I'd like to spotlight more on Gibby's record, Gibby Haynes and His Problem on Surf Dog Records. It was came out in 2004, and just uh, it's all out there. That's the thing. Like what I've done, I haven't sold lots of records on the records I've been on, Meat
Right.
Puppets Gaming, but they're all there, out there. They're in the music domain and the public domain, and you can find them. It's not hard to find them.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The Meat Puppets made, they carved their name in music history, and you're right along with them. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Also,
there.
Also, if you go, sometimes when you play them on Spotify, Meat Puppets, it'll say, Doug Sahm was a member of the Meat Puppets.
So, seeing as how you have been living this, I always close with, we're about legacy, this podcast, and seeing as how you've been living with your
Yeah.
dad's legacy for forever, when did you realize the word legacy, and what does it mean to you now?
Well, I mean, it means a lot because of he was just so, he did a lot of stuff in the little time that he was here. He got so much, he did so much with the Texas tornadoes, and Grateful Dead, and Bob Dylan, and Ringo Starr covering his stuff, and the Pixies guy covering his stuff. I mean,
Right.
he accomplished a lot in the time that he was here. So, what was your question again? So I can get on
The
time.
what was the word when did you realize you personally realize what the word legacy means, and what does it mean to you now?
Well, it's all about, to me, whether records sell copies or not, it's all about your discography. So to me, I realized that Shandon, you should build your discography.
Yeah.
And if you go on, you can go on. I have a Wikipedia page. If you go Shandon Sahm Wikipedia, you can see like the first record that I was ever on that came out like nationally was The Pyramid Meets the Eye, Rocky Erickson, me and Sean and Dad. It was called Doug Sahm and Sons. We did You're Gonna Miss Me. And that was the very first thing I ever did. That was 1990. And then after that followed Pariah, Tamaka Killingbird. And after that followed, Golden Lies. And then after that followed Baby Haynes. And then after that followed Meat Puppets, Lollipop and Rat Farm. So to me, it's just whether records sell or not, it's about building your discography.
Yeah.
Build it up because it's what do you call it? A reference. It's when people, like, if I join another band, if people ask, well, what have you done
Oh, yeah.
professionally? Well, I could go, well, listen to the Meat Puppets, listen to Gibby Haynes, or listen to Pariah.
There you go.
It's building a foundation is building your discography. So that's what I'm working towards, is to just keep building on my discography, which is, I've got I've been on like 12, at least 10 or 11 or 12 things, Dad's Daydream at Midnight, Rocky thing, Meat Puppets, Kitty Hayne. So it's just about building your discography. I think that's important to build your legacy. Building your legacy involves building your discography, basically.
Right. For musicians, that's definitely it.
And that's what I work towards. Is just to, and I'm still building on that. Like I add the song for song. I've been doing that just as a tribute lately because a lot of people, they know who Dad is, and so I'm just trying to pay a tribute to Dad, and try to keep his music out, keep his name out there because he's not physically around anymore.
Right.
Like right now, a lot of musicians, since they don't sell a lot of records, it's all about playing live to keep your name out there.
Right.
Well, he's not really around, so what to do, and Sean does, we try to just keep Dad's name out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it since 2008, man.
I want to thank you and people like you that help keep Dad's music alive. I mean, it's up to all of us to keep it alive.
Yeah,
you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate everything you've done and to honor Dad's name.
That he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just, it's ludicrous, dude. And these people who are ahead of him, it makes my skin crawl. But we can go on that.
He's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, so we got that. But I kind of agree with what Iggy Pop said. Iggy Pop said that he says at first, and think about it, everybody that's in the hard rock or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they've all sold millions of records.
Right.
Once they go through all the people that have sold millions of records, then they're going to start going down the list, down to people that were like creative, down to people that were like not selling millions of records. And when they get to there, whenever that is, they'll get to Dad. Eventually they will get to Dad. But right now, and since it's been started, everybody that's in there, they've all sold millions of records.
Yeah.
Well, Dad was more influential than he was record sale wise,
Well, I can say that some of those artists that sold millions of records were influenced by your dad.
Yeah. Oh, I know. So kind of like what Iggy was saying. Iggy's like, they're going to be putting people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that have sold millions of records. And so while they're doing that, Dad probably won't be that. But when they go down the list to like, okay, now we're going to start putting influential figures in there.
Right.
Dad will make it eventually. Will it be our lifetime? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Dad will eventually make it. I know he will eventually be in there, because even the Sir Douglas Quintet was a really cool thing. They disguised themselves as British, but they were from San Antonio. But they tried to, what do you call it? Piggyback on the success of the British invasion. Right. So they said, "Oh, let's call ourselves Sir." People will think we're from England, but they were really from San Antonio. But it worked, The bowl haircuts. She's About a Mover broke into the top 40.
The bowl haircuts and those uniforms didn't hurt either.
Well, it was all thought of like, hey, let's call ourselves Sir Douglas. Let's act like we're British. And maybe people might know, but by the time it was already a hit, then you could tell people, no, we're not British, we're from San Antonio. But it was already, that's what helped She's About a Mover, I think. It was right around the British invasion.
Yeah, exactly. It was all strategic, they planned it out. Well, brother, I don't want to keep it too long, too much longer. I will definitely send you that song, Such a Girl Like That, it was
please do.
I wrote it and actually check this story out if we can get the most second here. So when Mike left the Tornadoes to join the Mavericks, it was a very tumultuous time, let's say, for everybody. Your brother and Mike, and it was very, I don't think your brother liked it too much, obviously Mike leaving, we had done Such a Girl Like That, and recorded it, and we had it mastered with Nico Bolas, who, when he was working on our stuff, he was working on Neil Young's album, and Richard Dodge is the one who finished it off, you know, and he's like Lady Antebellum and all these. It's a high production record, and so somehow I think Sean saw it, and Sean and Mike hadn't talked for a couple of years, dude. And Sean saw I did a video of Mike playing that song just live somewhere, and Sean contacted me and he's like, "Hey man, that song, you know," he asked me about it, and I was like, "Yeah, I wrote it. You know, it's a tribute to your dad." And he's like, "That sounds just like my pops." And I was like, that made me cry, dude. I'm gonna tell you the truth. That made me cry, because he's so influential to me. And Sean telling me that
Yeah.
made me very emotional. But that was a spark that your dad worked to bring them two back together, dude. So now they're friends again, off of that
Of course.
song, you
And, you
know?
know, I'm sure Sean respects, like, he never liked that he had to leave the Tornadoes, but, he knew that the Mavericks were a touring band. And, we always welcome musicians going and doing what they can to get themselves seen. And so, from going from Tornadoes to Mavericks, Mavericks are a great band, and they tour all around.
Yeah. It
And
was it was a hard time
so,
for everybody.
I
It was a
just
hard
think,
decision for Mike, dude,
I'm,
because Doug was so influential
I'm
to us.
sure. I know, but I want to thank Mike. I want to thank you and all these people, everybody, San Antonio and the world that have helped keep Dad's music alive, because we know that it's good, honest, unique music that's real. It's the real deal. That's why a lot of the Dutch people here like his music, because it's just the real deal. There's no pomp and
No fluff.
there's no poseness with Dad. It was always like the real stuff. It's the real, it's like getting really good homegrown food. It's like
Yeah.
the real stuff, and that's what people really like about it. And so I just, I wanted to end on in this video. I mean, in this chat, I wanted to end it by just saying thank you to everyone out there. Anybody listening, thank you for keeping Dad's music alive. Thank you for, whether it's buying his records still, that when you see it in the record stores, or buying, or getting on his Spotify list, whatever it may be. I want to thank everybody, because it's up to us to keep Dad's music alive. And even what I've done, like the publishers, Lollipop, or Rat Farm, or Buy Gibby's record. You
Right.
know, it's all in a circle. That's the thing about the music business is, if something's not, if there's a trend happening, just wait, because the trend will come back around again.
Right.
Dad's music has been in fashion, has gone out fashion, back in, out of fashion, back in fashion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's just been so, it's timeless music, and it deserves to be heard. And I want to thank everybody that listens to this, and you, Michael, everybody, for keeping the music alive, because it's up.
Rock and roll, brother.
It's really, we're around. We're able to go, hey man. Another cool thing too, real quick, is like when people listen to Pandora. I've had a few people that say, "Well, I've heard of your dad," and they're like 20 something, and I go, "How did you hear of pop?" And they'd be like, "Well, I was on Pandora, and I was listening to Grateful Dead, or I was listening to Graham Parsons." A recommendation would comes up. Those are pretty cool. It says, "If you like Graham Parsons, you might like this."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Doug has come up a bunch of times on that. So people were like, "Oh, I was listening to Grateful Dead on Spotify and Pandora," and they said, "If you like Grateful Dead, you might like this." And
Mm-hmm.
so they go, "Wow, who's this Doug Sahm?" And they checked it out and they loved it. So a couple of these people that I know that are like in their 20s, they heard of it through Pandora and Spotify.
That's cool.
So every day people are getting turned on to Dad's music, and it's up to us, because we're physically around. We can tell people, "Hey, check out this song. Hey, check out this record." So never stop. Anybody that's listening to this right now, just always keep it alive. Always keep pushing it. Turn people on to Dad's music, because it's great, timeless, classic music. It's going, as long as people are listening to music, 1,000 years from now, as long as we still have music, people will be listening to Dad.
There you go,
You know.
brother. Well, let's end it on that, my friend.
Man, and I appreciate it again. Thanks for all that you do, and it's up to us to keep Dad's music alive. It's great stuff. It's great music. It's got a lot of history involved in it. So not only is the music great and timeless and classic, but it's got a lot of history involved. Like when Dad passed, we lost an encyclopedia
Oh my
of music.
God.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So keep them in your heart, keep them in your ears, keep listening to that music and don't stop. And we'll always keep pushing. As long as I've got a breath in me, I'm always going to tell people, a lot of these magazines, I don't know if you've, like a year ago or so, Mojo magazine, a lot of these classic rock magazines that are still around,
Hmm.
mostly in the UK. I love Dad. I'm looking at a Mojo magazine right now with Nick Cave on the cover. I don't know if you've seen that, but go
No.
online and find it. And
Mojo
it says
Mag?
Doug Somm, and it's got like a 3 or 4 page article on Dad. It's got
Wow.
color pictures, and so just keep the music going, keep it alive, set fires to keep it going, as basically I'm going to say.
We will definitely keep the groove, brother.
And let me know, when, definitely when this comes out and you get it all edited and done to the way you like it, let me know and I'll help promote that. And that way, when they listen to this article, if there's some an interview, if somebody's going, I've never heard of Doug Somm,
Yep.
maybe we'll turn just from this interview, turn more people onto Doug Somm
There you
or
go,
Meat
man.
Puppets or Kid Haynes. It's all in a circle.
That's
Just
it, brother.
understand that it's all in a circle. It goes back. It starts with Dad, then it can go to Pariah, go to Meat Puppets, then can go to Gibby Haynes. It's all a circle. It all circles. It comes back around.
Yep. For sure, brother. All right, Chandon from
Again,
from
thanks.
Amsterdam. Have a good
Yeah,
afternoon, my
Amsterdam.
friend.
Hey, hey, called Amsterdam. I
There
hear
you
you
go.
calling.
uh,
With the girls along the canal. Amsterdam. It's called Goodbye. Listen to that if you're listening to this
oh,
interview. It's called Goodbye
goodbye.
San Francisco,
Hello,
Hello
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. So
Yeah.
he wrote, and I feel a little connection. It's like Dad wrote about this city, and it's one of my ways to, since he's physically not here, one of my ways to kind of connect with him by living here. Because if he knew I was living here, he'd be visiting me all the time. Oh my God, son, you live in Amsterdam? I want to come see you.
Well, I'm sure he's looking down on you, my friend.
Oh yeah, he's watching over us, and and that's happened a lot too. I would get in the car when I was in Texas. I would get in my car. I would turn on the radio, and just like Dad saying, "I'm still around," Dad's song would come on the
Dude,
radio.
it's freaky,
And
dude.
that happened a lot too with me.
It was freaky. That's all
I
I
would
gotta
get in
say
the
is it was
car, turn on
freaky.
the radio, not a movie would come on, or Mendocino, and so that happened a lot, and it's good. It's kind of like this reminder of like, oh, Dad's still with us.
Yeah.
His music. Look, the music will last forever. The music is here. It's timeless. It won't go away. And so for that, we're thankful that we have Dad's catalog, vast catalog of music to listen to, and
Exactly.
it's a lot. I
It's a
mean, it
lot.
goes from 1957 or whatever to 99. So there's a lot of records, a lot of appearing on other people's
Oh my
records and
gosh,
stuff
yeah.
too. So, and a lot of artists covering his songs, like we are saying, Lemonheads, Ringo Starr, Frank Black from the Pixies,
The
all
Canadian
these
band. What was
people
the
covering.
Canadian bands that covered him a lot? That I think your dad played with them. Oh, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Garrett. Garrett in Canada. He had a band with them, or just played
Oh
made an
yeah,
album with them.
Miss Garrett. Actually, through that record, he won a Juno Award. He's one of the
Oh,
few Americans to actually win a Juno Award, which is the equivalent of a Grammy in Canada.
oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah, he won a Juno Award. So, because Dad has one Grammy for the
Right.
Texas Tornadoes, and he's got a Juno, which
Huh.
is equivalent of a Grammy in Canada.
Cool.
So, and he had another hit called "Meet Me in Stockholm" in Sweden. That
Oh
was
yeah, meet me
really
in
big, and I
Stockholm.
know a lot of people
Meet
in
me in
Sweden tell me like
Stockholm.
they grew up on that song. "Meet me in Stockholm, baby." Yes, sir.
And that
Yeah,
name
so
just
listen
hit
to
me.
that if you're listening
That name just hit me. Amos Garrett
to the yeah. Amos Garrett and Gene Taylor
and
and
Gene
Doug
Taylor.
Somm, they won a
Yeah,
Juno Award for that.
that's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
So,
You know I know my Doug if I know that.
all I know that's true. Oh yeah, and I really like the honky blues era.
Oh
There's
yeah.
everything from '57 to about '81 was just, I mean, was just great. His solo stuff, the Groover's Paradise,
I
Get
love
Back
that
the Key to
album.
My Heart, the Texas Tornado. One plus one plus one equals four. Together after five. Honky blues, all that stuff is just great. Every single song. on the whole record. All those records from start to finish are all fantastic.
But let me tell you,
He definitely had a
let me give you another little insider note here. The album cover for the song where the song "Such a Girl Like That" is on is another tribute to Doug because we did it like Groover's Paradise, except our own design. But it's we gave it to the artist and said, "Here's Groover's Paradise album. We want ours, but with this, you know, our design, but like that." So I'll send you a copy of that too, dude.
that's And please do, and send me that song again. Let me, because it's been a while. So send me the cover and send me the song. I'd really like to hear it. And again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody that will end up listening to this podcast or interview. Keep Dad's music alive. Go check it out on Spotify. Go to the music stores and buy his CDs and records. It's all out there for everybody to hear. So if you're the new generation and you just get it all online, it's online. If you like to go and collect physical LPs and cassettes and CDs, then go to the music store and request Doug.
Yep,
In Holland, I'll walk around and I'll go, "Hey, do you have any Doug Sahm?" And in all the record stores, they have numerous records of his.
I've done that here. I've
He
only
even had that
gotten two, unwrapped still, but two.
Say it again.
I've done that here, but I've only managed to find
So-
two that were still wrapped. One was a SDQ, and the other one was
Oh, yeah.
a Tornadoes one, I think. Anyways, brother, let me let you go.
Yeah, you can find stuff.
Um,
Okay, man. Well, hey, again, thank you. Keep the Dad's music alive. It's people like you that are awesome at this to help just keep the music out there. It's up to us to be the Doug Sahm soldiers and carry that music with you and turn people on to it and let everyone know. Snoop Douglas Quintet, Doug Sahm, Texas Tornadoes, all that stuff. It's such great music, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this interview and keeping his music alive.
take care, brother. I love you.
All right, love you too, man. Have a good one, and we'll talk soon.
Bye bye.
Okay.